At first, it sounded like just another quiet disagreement, one of those subtle differences in parenting that rarely make headlines. But something about this moment felt different. There was a tone to it, a firmness that caught people off guard. It wasn't loud, it wasn't aggressive, but it was unmistakably clear. A line had been drawn. And when Prince Harry made his position known, it didn't just raise eyebrows, it reignited a conversation that has followed the royal family for generations. Because behind the calm words and composed demeanor was a deeper question: who really decides how royal children are raised? And more importantly, should tradition always win? To understand why this moment mattered, we need to step back into the world these two brothers grew up in. Prince William and Prince Harry were born into one of the most scrutinized families on the planet. From the moment they entered the world, their lives were guided not just by their parents, but by an intricate system of royal expectations, protocols designed to preserve tradition, image, and continuity. These rules weren't always written down, but they were understood. And for decades, they shaped everything from public appearances to private family life. As adults, both brothers have taken different paths. William, now firmly positioned as a future king, has largely embraced the structure he was raised within. Alongside Catherine, Princess of Wales, he has balanced modern parenting with traditional royal duty, often walking a careful line between the two. Harry, on the other hand, chose a different route. After stepping back from senior royal duties, he and Meghan Markle began shaping a life that prioritized independence, especially when it came to raising their children. And that's where the tension quietly began to build. Because while both brothers share the same upbringing, their philosophies as fathers appear to have diverged. What might seem like a small difference on the surface actually reflects something much deeper: two contrasting visions of what it means to be a parent inside and outside the royal framework. The moment in question didn't arrive with fanfare. There were no dramatic announcements or formal statements. Instead, it came through a response measured, calm, but undeniably firm. Harry's stance was simple: when it comes to his children, the decision is his. Not the institutions. Not traditions. His. But then something unexpected happened. People started paying attention. Because this wasn't just about parenting, it was about authority. And what followed surprised many. For years, royal parenting has carried its own unspoken rulebook. Children born into the monarchy are not just family members. They are future symbols of the institution. Their lives are often guided by expectations long before they can even understand them. Public appearances, schooling choices, even how they interact with the media, everything is carefully considered. William, as the future king, operates within that reality. His children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, are growing up in a world where duty and visibility are part of daily life. And while William and Catherine have made efforts to give them as normal a childhood as possible, they still exist within the framework of royal expectations. Harry saw that world up close. He lived it. And in many ways, he has spoken openly about the challenges it brought, especially the pressure of constant public scrutiny. So when it came time to raise his own children, his approach appeared to shift. He wasn't just thinking about tradition. He was thinking about protection. And that's where his response takes on a deeper meaning. Because what Harry seemed to be pushing back against wasn't just a specific protocol, it was the idea that those protocols should automatically apply to his children. His message was clear, even if it wasn't loudly declared: it's not your child. A simple phrase, but one loaded with significance. What followed began to unfold quietly, but steadily. Observers noticed the contrast. William continuing within the royal structure, adapting it where possible. Harry stepping outside of it entirely, redefining what parenting looks like when you remove the institution from the equation. But then something else happened. The public reaction started to grow. At first, it was subtle. A few comments here and there. Some people praised Harry's stance, seeing it as a modern approach to parenting, one that prioritizes autonomy and emotional well-being over tradition. Others, however, viewed it differently. To them, royal protocol exists for a reason. It maintains consistency, preserves heritage, and ensures that future generations understand their roles. And this is where the conversation became more complex. Because this wasn't just about two brothers disagreeing. It was about two philosophies colliding. One rooted in continuity, the other in change. Media coverage reflected that divide. Some reports suggested that Harry's response was a sign of ongoing tension between him and the royal institution. Others framed it as a natural evolution. An example of how the monarchy is slowly adapting to modern values. But many people believe there's more beneath the surface. That this moment, while small on its own, is part of a larger pattern. A pattern that stretches back years, shaped by experiences both brothers shared and interpreted differently. And then there's the question of influence. Because while William operates within the monarchy, he also has the power to shape it from within. His parenting choices, while aligned with tradition, have already introduced subtle changes. He and Catherine have been more open, more relatable, more focused on giving their children moments of normalcy. Harry, on the other hand, is shaping something entirely separate. His approach doesn't seek to reform the system, it exists outside of it. And that distinction matters. Some observers suggest that Harry's firm stance isn't just about parenting, it's about boundaries. A clear indication that while he remains connected to his family, he is no longer bound by its rules. Others believe it reflects a deeper desire to protect his children from the pressures he once faced. But as the conversation grew, so did the speculation. Some reports suggest that this difference in parenting styles could contribute to the broader distance between the brothers. Not as a direct cause, but as part of an ongoing divergence in their lives. Others argue that it's simply a natural outcome of their different roles. Because at the end of the day, William is preparing to be king. And Harry is not. And that distinction shapes everything. What makes this moment particularly compelling is how quiet it was. There was no confrontation, no dramatic fallout. Just a statement. A boundary. A choice. And yet, it resonated. Because parenting, at its core, is deeply personal. It reflects values, experiences, and hopes for the future. And when those elements play out on a global stage, they take on a different weight. This wasn't the first time the royal family has faced questions about tradition versus change. But it may be one of the clearest examples of how those two forces can exist side by side, sometimes in harmony, sometimes in tension. As the discussion continued, one thing became increasingly clear. This moment wasn't just about protocol. It was about identity. Harry's identity as a father, shaped by his own past. William's identity as a future king, shaped by responsibility. And the ongoing evolution of a monarchy trying to navigate a rapidly changing world. Because what happened here wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic in the traditional sense. But it was significant. A quiet declaration that sometimes, even within centuries-old traditions, there's room for a different approach. And perhaps that's why it captured so much attention. Because it raises a question that goes far beyond the royal family. Who decides how a child should be raised? Tradition? Expectation? Or the parent themselves? For Harry, the answer seems clear. But for the monarchy, it may not be that simple. And as these two paths continue to unfold, one within the institution, one outside of it, the contrast becomes more visible. More defined. More telling. Because this wasn't just a moment. It was a glimpse into the future. A future where the royal family may need to balance not just duty and tradition, but individuality as well. And the question now is, can those two worlds truly coexist? Or will moments like this continue to reveal a deeper divide? Because if one quiet response can spark this much conversation, what happens next might matter even more.